情绪会影响沟通，那情绪不好的时候，再怎么沟通都可能效果不太好，有的时候反而有负面的影响。所以今天让我们来用英语看看自己的情绪，顺便来整理一下自己，再出发。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管双语沟通力的 podcast。我们希望带给大家最实用的沟通工具，包括了成功人士对全球市场的分享、职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。Hi, I'm Sherry, founder of Executive Plus. As a language trainer and certified coach, I've trained hundreds of managers from Fortune 500 companies such as Dior, Google, Deloitte, and Yahoo.And
I'm Nick, Director of Communication Strategy at Presentality. I've helped startups raise millions of US dollars in funding and train the executives of publicly listed companies to present on the global stage.
Welcome to the Executive Plus podcast,
where you can take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to an Executive Plus podcast.Over the past few weeks, we've talked a lot about what does it mean to work from home from a practical standpoint, how to do a conference call properly, how to get set up, and how to get ready. Today, we're going to talk about what does it mean to internally get ready. So, Sherry, you've gone back, started looking at a lot of your coaching material and pulling things together to think about how you want to deal with this transition.
没错，那其实因为现在常常都是在家工作，那我相信很多的人大概有的时候会感受到一种就是很烦。Because you're working from home and then you're surrounded by your family and you love them, but everyone's there. 那你有时候没有自己的空间，或者你正好你小孩子也必须要 homeschool. I'm sure a lot of you guys, time to time, will feel a little bit triggered. 你会有点被影响，那种情绪上可能不会那么的平静。那不管是不是在家工作，我相信我们的人生嘛，大家常常都会有一些不同的事情会发生。但是在我们沟通之前，我们做视讯之前，我们开会之前，有的时候先整理一下自己的情绪，一定都会有比较正面的影响。So something I really want to share with you guys today is the idea of the deeper meaning to emotion. 所以有的时候我们会觉得说 OK, 我觉得很烦，或者是 I feel so stressed, I feel so frustrated. 但是这个 stressed, 这个 frustrated, 它还有更深层的意思哦。
Yeah, a lot of times when we use quite general words, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm tired, I'm burned out, we talk in generalities of our feelings. But a lot of times when you look at coaching, facilitation, you start to dig into what's actually behind, what's the driving force behind these emotions. And the faster that you can figure out what the driving force behind that is, the easier it is to usually sort out and overcome these problems.So
if you really imagine your feeling, it's kind of like this tangled, 很乱的毛线，它们全部都扯在一起。这个时候你就要把它慢慢的解开。So in order to do that, the first thing you should be able to do is to identify exactly how you're feeling and why you're feeling this way.所以有一个很简单的一个 tool, 也就是网络上其实有非常多的这些 information, 那我们也会分享在我们讲义中。And it's called an anger iceberg.Iceberg 就是一种就是冰山的意思嘛，那冰山呢我们只看到上面的一角，那其实下面有非常多的东西。So say we're talking about the word anger. Are there things that could make you feel angry?
Well, as we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of other words. If anger is a generality, there's a lot of subtle nuanced words, like where's the anger coming from? So sometimes anger can come from just being tired.Anger can come from being hungry. Anger can come from being nervous or rejected. And what you're trying to get at, what's the level behind that? What's the more subtle version of what's actually driving my anger?Yeah,
so it's really important to kind of dig deep and really figure out why you're feeling this anger. Because if you don't really sort it out, you're just gonna explode eventually.
This may seem a little strange coming from what's a language or communication learning podcast. But one thing that why we like to talk about these resources is because not only is this a way to explore your feelings, but because there are so many synonyms, and I use that term lightly, synonyms for anger. A lot of people will just use it interchangeably, like, oh, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm furious. And they just use it on a level of like super angry versus not very angry. But when you're doing this kind of anger iceberg or the feelings wheel, what you can start to do is parse out or look more in depth is what's the difference between someone who's angry from being nervous or uncomfortable versus someone who's angry from being hurt or disappointed. And you'll actually start to find that when you can find the right words to describe that nuance, that slight difference between one kind of anger and another, your vocabulary starts to open up a lot because you're being more specific.
而且很重要的是，当你找到对的字，真正去形容你目前的感受的时候，你真的比较能够沟通你的想法。Think about this. If you just tell your boss, I feel angry, your boss probably cannot really help you much. But if you tell your boss, okay, I feel rejected because somebody told me this, or maybe you didn't really like how I handled the project, then, she or he can actually help you to solve your problem.
When you can be a lot more articulate about what's bothering you, or it's like disappointment, rejection you talked about, I feel disappointed because I felt I was promised this. If I completed this project in time, there would be some kind of benefit from doing that, and it's not coming. Versus anger is like, I'm just really angry that you didn't treat me the way that you want. The change in that language from I'm just really angry that I'm not getting what I want sounds very attacking, and people will start to defend. But if you can shift that and say something like, I'm really disappointed that I felt I upheld my side of the deal and I'm not benefiting the way that we discussed. That switch in just using that word will also switch the tone in communication.
Exactly. 所以其实用对的字，找到对的字是非常的重要。所以当我们在形容我们的 emotion 的时候，常常其实很多我所接触过的一些客户跟学生，他们其实我们都没有太多的机会能够去了解这些不同的这些字跟一些 subtle differences， 或者是像字像 offended， 可能某一个人讲话，他讲这句话讲这个字，我听起来不太舒服 I feel offended. Instead of saying I feel angry, just feel like I feel offended. 那这个时候对方他可能可以 Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it, or they can explain. Yeah, but if you just say I'm angry, that could mean so many different things.
Yeah, it's a very blanket, it covers everything term.
Definitely 觉得以我们语言在学习者的话，我们形容心理的感受，这一些认识这些不同的形容词是绝对是必要的。
In order to dive deeper into understanding the underlying emotions, and again, to articulate a little better what's really going on with you, there's a few questions that you can start to ask yourself. And this is a process that's fairly common in executive coaching. It gets used a lot in management coaching of how to think deeper about an issue or your own emotions.
所以我现在来跟大家分享一下，大概这个 self-coaching 大概是长得什么样子 Yeah. So I'm going to give everyone kind of an example. What sort of question that would lead you to find out exactly how you feel and make you feel a lot better or maybe lighter? So let's say you're stressed out. 我相信每个人一定都会有这种感觉 Like myself, these couple days, I feel very, very stressed out. So if you say, I'm completely stressed out. So something you want to ask yourself. If you have 5 to 10 minutes, you need to ask yourself, what would you like to solve right now? So you only have this short amount of time. 你这很短的时间，所以你一定要很确认，你要问自己说，你现在这个5到10分钟，你能够帮助你自己解决什么？ Let's say you say, I really want this problem to go away. I just don't want to deal with this. And then you ask yourself, what is the reason that you want this problem to go away? What is the importance that you want this problem to go away? You can say, okay, I hate this project. It's really not going anywhere. And then dig a little deeper. You want to make sure you solve something in the next 10 minutes. So you can say, what would you like to do in the next 10 minutes? So maybe you would say, I want to know why I'm so stressed. This project, it's really supposed to be very easy. 所以在做 self-coaching 的时候，我们要非常注意就是这个 supposed to be、should be 这个字。你问一下你自己 okay, supposed to be easy? So you kind of explain to yourself, well, it's completely by the book, but I guess actually just frustrated with my boss. 所以这个时候你开始就会发现说，这个 project 并不是这个 project, 而是我对我的老板可能有点 frustrated.Okay, so then you can ask yourself, what would you like to resolve right now? And in terms of how your emotion and mental health, then you can say, I want to find out why my boss actually bothers me. Why is that? 所以这个时候你开始就会 dig deeper. 你就会知道，从你觉得非常 stressed out, 到现在你已经发现，其实我是对我的老板感到很 frustrated. 所以这个时候你就开始看到了这个问题的中心点在哪里。So 你可以开始解释一下你的一些 situation. I don't want to care about the little things anymore. I just want to move on with another project. 你开始解释你现在为什么你感受到这些 why you're so frustrated with your boss. And then you can ask yourself, what is getting in your way? That's always a really, really good question. What is getting in your way? Right? 你到底这个 mental block 是什么？ And then you kind of dig deeper. You will know that, okay, maybe it's because I need to prove to her and she's not really appreciating me. And I have an annual review coming up and I'm worried about that. 所以现在你就是透过这些很简单的问题，你可以开始了解说，为什么我是这么的 stressed out？ 从很 stressed out 到你可以了解说 OK 你 stressed out 的原因是什么，那接下来你可能就可以去跟你的老板去沟通你这些 frustration 或者你感受到 you're not being appreciated.
I really like the order of these questions. And if you go back to summarize really quick, the order of the questions that you started asking yourself was 1, what would you like to solve right now? 2, what is the reason or what is the importance of wanting this problem to be solved or wanting this problem to go away? Then, what is getting in your way? What's stopping you? There are other follow-up questions, or you can actually replace them out with the original question. And these are questions that I really like to ask someone when they're clearly stressed out. One question would be, if you had an invincible cape, what would you want to accomplish right now? Like if you had the ability just immediately with no problems, very smooth, just to fix something, what would that be? Another way that I will typically ask friends or clients to think about this question is, if you were to wake up tomorrow and one thing was just totally accomplished, magically it was just done and you didn't have to deal with it anymore, you didn't have to think about it anymore, what would that one thing be? Most people assume that when they're going to answer that question, it's probably just something small and minor that's annoying them. Like, I just want that thing to be finished so I don't have to think about it. But the reality is, when most people think about that question, they start to think about what is the one thing I could fix that would solve most of my problems. And this goes back to a management theory called the Pareto principle. Most people commonly know it as the 80-20 rule. And if you Google the 80-20 rule, you'll get a massive amount of resources. But it's the idea that 80% of your frustration or anger, etc., comes from only like 20% of your problems. Or in reverse, 80% of your business's growth and money making probably only comes from like 20% of your customers. And that there's a disproportional amount here. And this is the same idea when someone's frustrated. Sherry talked about this big ball of just random emotions just kind of shoved together. But the reality is it's not evenly distributed. It's not that every single problem equally causes you frustration or anger. It's actually, there's probably a root problem that's like 80% of all of your anger and frustration is by solving that thing. So when we ask that question, if you're going to wake up tomorrow and something's just magically fixed, people start to think back and go, okay, this is what is driving most of my emotion right now. And so it's the same idea now. When you're frustrated, if you were to think about that question, tomorrow I magically woke up. What would I want should be just fixed. And then you will start to find out, it's like, okay, what is the driving? Again, when we talk, I keep using that word driving, but the idea is that action-oriented. What's that force that's causing most of the frustration?
对 Nick 常问我这个问题 so I'm very familiar with that question.
Yes.
And, I think I want to share one more question with you guys. 那这个问题它其实是我在做 coaching 的时候我觉得非常有用的，不管是我As a coach, 我可能那时候在练习的时候，有的时候我会觉得有点 stuck， 不太确定我要问我的 client 什么样的问题，或者是 client 他可能也会觉得，客户也会觉得他有点被卡住了。那这个时候这个问题非常有意思，就是 you could ask, what do you want to ask yourself right now? 请你自己，或者是你也可以，如果你有机会的话，你跟人同事聊天的时候，你同事跟你说 I feel so stressed right now, I just don't know what to do.Just tell them or tell your colleagues, what do you want to ask yourself right now? 他们自己心中一定有一个 gut feeling, 他们就会突然间 OK, 他们一定会有一个中心点的这个问题突然就会跑出来. So that could be like a turning point to the situation.
We hope that this quick look at important coaching skills helps you prepare a little more emotionally for the work at home period.
And remember, if you're experiencing something that you don't think you could really resolve by yourself, make sure you seek professional help. So I hope everyone have a great week and speak to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
如果你喜欢我们的 podcast, 欢迎来追踪我们的主管英文 Executive Plus 的 Facebook. 那也可以写信到我们的信箱yourcareerplus@gmail.com